Soundstripe. Soundstripe.
Welcome into Lock and Live NFL Week 3 with Uncle Phil and Smooth Andy. Thanks everyone for joining us this Sunday morning. Uncle Phil, Smooth Andy, good to see you guys. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. I am ready to go today. I'm fired up about today. Feel like I've been waiting on this day for an entire year. Smooth Andy, what's the vibe over there?
Yeah, we always love week 3. Usually it treats us very well, and yeah, very excited about this. I've been even yesterday watching college football. I was looking forward to today, and I loved yesterday too. But yeah, should be a great day.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Week 3 NFL is usually in your wheelhouse, and I think the audience kind of knows that. We're seeing a lot of comments coming in. Everyone's amped up for today. So,
yeah.
Anyways,
today's a big day for me. This week 3, it's usually, obviously college football is a week ahead. So week 4 in college football was yesterday. And I feel like traditionally week 4 in college football is a day where I don't do well, and then I end up making it up in week 3 of NFL. So I'm really pumped that I'm on the plus side of things from yesterday, including Friday night. I had 2 live bets then, 8-4 walking into Sunday. Always nice to be up 4 units for me, and ready to go day. So yeah, I'm pretty fired up. I know Smooth Andy is too.
Fantastic. Well, honestly, I think we can just skip the recap this week because I think everyone's just so excited to see where you're going. So I think we should just do that. Where are you heading first, Uncle Phil?
Yeah, no, thanks. I'm headed to Nashville, where first place I'm going is I think this is going to be an ugly game, but one that finally goes in Tennessee's favor. I'm taking the Titans -3, and the reason why I'm taking them is obviously Jordan Love's not playing, and Green Bay is left with Malik Willis, which is really just one-dimensional, and he just got traded 3 weeks ago from the Titans to Green Bay. So who knows him better than anybody, and that's going to be the Titans. So they know him, and quite candidly, they traded him because he couldn't learn the playbook. They just said he wasn't that smart, at least the source that I got, that he just wasn't that smart and he couldn't learn the playbook. So they're just like, they were done with him. And so they know better than anybody what he can and can't do and what he's limited to, and he can't handle a lot of complex plays. So, Green Bay is going to have a tougher time today running the ball than they did against the porous Colts, which they did last week. I like Hafley's, defense. Green Bay will do something against Tennessee, but it just won't be enough. I think Tennessee's run defense will stop Malik and the one-dimensional Packers today, and I think Tennessee gets the victory -3. So that's where I'm headed first. The second place I'm going, this one is the afternoon game. I'm going to Dallas, where Baltimore is taking on Dallas. Baltimore is a desperate team, being 0-2. Going 0-3 almost solidifies you being out of the playoffs. Drops you from about 11% chance to about a 2.5% chance. No way Baltimore's going 0-3. I'm taking Baltimore -1 in this game, and I'll tell you why. NFC teams in particular just don't see Lamar Jackson enough to really prepare for him. Most teams get a wide receiver to run quarterback, and it just doesn't work in the scout team trying to prepare, but it's just not enough. This is going to be a tough deal. Dallas is worst on inside runs. Dallas is also worst in the red zone against runs. It just really sets up well for Baltimore on this one. Also, NFC teams facing Lamar Jackson are 1-20 when they face him. So I think Baltimore's got a big advantage in anything. The only thing that really concerns me about Dallas in this game is that Dallas, I think if Jake Ferguson's coming back, they could get the tight ends involved. I don't think Baltimore's linebackers have moved real well in space, and I think that could be a little bit of an issue. But I think the overwhelming value, even at -1, is on Baltimore. And so if you're going to say that Lamar is 20-1 against NFC teams, then all they have to do is win, and I'm just laying 1 point, I'm going to take it. So give me Baltimore -1 for my second best bet of the day.
Sweet. I love it. Should be a lot of fun watching those two games. I like the reasoning behind both of them. Smooth Andy, where are you heading?
Well, might as well start off and say that I'm on the same two games that Uncle Phil is on that he just announced, but those are going to be on my Twitter. My games for the show are going to be a little different. I've got Carolina +5.5. I like the fact that Andy Dalton is starting. I like the fact that everybody's still treating this Carolina team as if they're being quarterbacked by Bryce Young. I like the fact that I've been hearing a lot, and we're in Vegas. I've just been hearing Vegas people talking about how much fun it's going to be to, clean the clock of Carolina. But as I heard Lombardi talk about today on one of his shows, he just said, how pissed off is Vegas that Carolina's not bringing Bryce Young in here this week? How pissed are they that they got to take on Andy Dalton? Not that he's this great legendary quarterback, but it's going to be better for Carolina on offense with Andy Dalton. It seems like it can't be worse. So I like the spot for Carolina. I got them at 5.5. I actually think I have a ticket at 6 as well. Rams +6.5 is my second one. They're going against San Francisco. San Francisco, of course, is really banged up in a lot of places. The Rams could not have looked worse last week against Arizona. I like taking a team right when they've been humiliated, both because they're going to want to redeem themselves in some respect. They're an 0-2 team, so they need this game, or else they're going to be probably out of the playoff hunt, not mathematically, but maybe in spirit. I just like this spot. I wish Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp were playing today. I don't think they are, so I'm not sure who Stafford's going to throw to, but I'm just going to kind of ride the magic of the 0-2 desperate team. And finally, I've got Atlanta +3 against Kansas City. Kansas City, again, banged up. Isaiah Pacheco's out this week. They're, the whole public is all over Kansas City in this game, and I love a game where I can get a home dog that nobody's betting on. So I'm going to have Atlanta +3 as well, and that will be, I believe, the night game tonight, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep, it is.
So there we go. Those are my three. I'll read them again. Carolina +5.5, LA Rams +6.5, Atlanta +3.
Awesome stuff. Well, I'll look forward to seeing the rest of your card on X after
It's going to be a long card. I might have to make 2 tweets out of
it. Yeah, I like that you're using the dogs too to specify your indicators.
Well, I used dogs last week, but it was a frontal face of a little puppy dog, and I got walloped, so I've moved it to a sitting profile dog. So
there you go.
I'm going to keep working.
That's really
until I win.
The sitting profile dog never does you wrong.
There you go.
Alrighty, well, let's get to some questions here. We already have some great ones that came in. If you want to ask a question, go on StreamYard or wherever you're watching the show and comment, and we'll get to it. So let's start off. We got Sco Birds. You probably imagine what game he's asking about. He's interested in your thoughts on the Eagles at +2.5.
Yeah, Smooth Andy, what do you think about that game?
Well, looks like the money, the tickets are on the Saints at Don Best. It's they're giving 2.5 at home, the Saints, and I think they really could not have looked much better the first 2 weeks, so it's not surprising. The Eagles are starting to look a little shaky. People are starting to talk again about Sirianni and what's going on with Jalen Hurts. I don't like what I'm seeing from the Eagles right now, so I'm not sure that I'd want that road dog with the Eagles the way the Saints are playing. But that said, if you play two great games as your first two games of the year, people are going to have a tendency to psychologically believe it's going to happen every week. And sooner or later that catches up with you. Just not so sure I believe it will be this week. How about you, Uncle Phil?
Yeah. I mean, I like the old Mark Twain quote. It's not what you know that or not what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know that just absolutely just can't be true that gets you in trouble. And I feel like that's the same thing that's happening with the Eagles now. People are falling in love with the Eagles. Like, hey, and they're not going to start 1-2. For me, I think this is it's not my notebook. I literally like every single game on the card today in some angle, whether it's a total or the side, or even a tease. I just think this is a terrible matchup for Philadelphia's defense. I just think that Philadelphia's defense is a bottom 5 in yards per play given up, and also in pressuring the quarterback. They've got the worst run defense in the NFL, and they're coming off a short week. I just think they're going to have to change schemes if they're going to have to be successful. And Vic Fangio is not the guy that's doing it. They're just not getting pressure on. They're just not getting any pressure off the edge. They're going to get outside zone run to death by the Saints today. And I wouldn't even be surprised if you see me on Twitter. If you set your alerts, you see me on Twitter or X, if you see me putting a notification in saying I'm adding Saints, because I just can't. I can't get this game out of my mind. I know that New Orleans, look, they're not as good as they have been, but again, I think this is another thing that's going to get people in trouble. It's like people just can't believe that Philadelphia is not as good as they should be, and I think people can't believe that New Orleans is as good as they are. And I think New Orleans is good. I think Clint Kubiak coming over from the Shanahan offense is just going to give people fits. And Philadelphia is probably familiar with that offense. They played it last week with Atlanta, but it's still going to give them trouble. And I think it's a bad spot for Philly. I think it's a good spot for New Orleans.
Sweet. Well, thanks for the question there, Sco Birds. Next on the line, we're going to go to Andrew. Andrew in Dallas. Thoughts on Chargers +1. Is Herbert ankle going to hold up?
Smooth, what do you think?
Well, let me see. I'm going to just check the injury report on Don Best real quick and see what the official listing is. It says probable. So, okay. Yeah. So they're going with him, which I think we knew already, but I just wanted to verify. I don't know. I heard some people speculating on VSiN this morning that it might be a good idea for them to sit Herbert this week just because he's banged up and you've got one of the Watt brothers on the corner coming after you. May not be a good day to be immobile and susceptible to injury. But I doubt that they do that. You don't see a lot of teams sit a quarterback if you can go. So we'll just see, but it's not a good day to be immobile right now. This is a very good pass rushing team, the Steelers. So I'd be very worried about that. By the way, Andrew, I think Andrew was the one who was on Army yesterday, right?
What's that?
Wasn't Andrew the one who asked us about Army Rice yesterday?
He was on Army. So
yeah,
yes,
good call on that, Andrew. We both got on the live betting after a 14-0 start and cashed that ticket too. So it was on our radar because of you, and we spotted that and won some money. So thank you for that. Anyway, back to you, Phil, on the Chargers.
Yeah, no doubt. Good call, Matt. Thanks for doing that. I mean, look, I think we learn just as much from people that listen in and put in comments than from the studies we do as well. So always appreciate that. We don't claim to have all the answers, but we just put in the work, and we think we have a pretty informed take on most things. With Herbert, high ankle sprains are really, really tough to overcome. I'm really surprised he's playing. I would have sat him, but that being said, they're adding a third quarterback to this today just in case he can't go. So, maybe it's a deal where he's in there for a quarter and doesn't go. So I wouldn't trust the line. But what I do trust are these defenses. These are the number 1 and the number 2 defenses in the entire NFL. And the total is a little low for me. I think it's around 34. If it were 36, just 2 more points, I'd go under. I think it probably will still go under. I mean, it feels like a pretty low scoring game. I talked with I texted with a guy who's actually a player on the Steelers offense today. And he said their offensive line is just absolutely banged up. And, they're just trying to get through the week. I mean, it's really thin. I think it's going to be really tough on them. I think the defenses have their day. And I think that's today. If I played anything today, I'd play the under.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for the question, Andrew, and congrats on the win yesterday with the Army. Next up, we got a lot of questions from numerous people about that Vikings versus Texans game.
I know that one's near and dear to your heart as well, Matt.
Yep. Well, I'm not complaining that people are asking about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Smooth Andy, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, it did not show up on my card this week. I will start with that. So it's probably, the betting is pretty even. I think it's going to be a heck of a fun game. We knew we were expecting the Titans to be good. Texans, pardon me. I thought they might trip up a little early on because I thought, somebody that improved so much last year, I kind of expected them to maybe learn a lesson in not being totally prepared the next year and thinking everything's going to go just as well. But they're 2-0 and they've played well. I love the way Minnesota's playing. I was very skeptical of Darnold at the beginning of the year. Uncle Phil was, hey, he looked good in preseason. Let's give him a shot. Let's see what happens. And he's been right about that. So I'm really just watching this one as a spectator. Line open 2, it's down to 1.5. So I guess maybe a little bit more money on the Vikings, but not much. It's still, below 3. That's pretty fluid in that area between 2.5 and 2.5 on both sides of the 0. But, I just think this is going to be a fun game to watch. I don't really have a read on based on the numbers that I track on this game.
Yeah. And a lot of sharp money is on the Texans day. And I know that they're like, oh, well, CJ Stroud is as good against the blitz as he is without the blitz. You don't pressure him. And I think that's true. Certainly I'm not going to argue with the numbers. Statistically, it's true. But that's with Joe Mixon back there picking up the blitz. And Joe Mixon's not playing. As a matter of fact, they're just going to have Cam Akers. And you can almost count on Cam Akers to turn the ball over at least once a game. That's just kind of what he does, right? That's why the Rams cut him, put him, kept taking him off active roster and then put him back on when they'd get hurt. And finally, Sean McVay was done with him. And, and he fumbled last week against the Chicago Bears, which I'm still salty about, inside the 5-yard line, which cost me a cover in that game. So I think that Brian Flores offers more than the blitz. And I think his defensive schemes are fantastic. So, I'm really expecting a pretty good game. I talked to an agent yesterday who has some players on the Texans defense. And he told me that the Texans feel really good about their defense, that they're really fired up about it today and ready to go. They feel like they're locked in for this game. So I expect both defenses to be making some plays. I would almost enjoy the game and probably lean toward the under on this game. So that's kind of where I see the game, where I would play. But I think this game, as Smooth Andy talked about, the 2, it's kind of fluid between there and, 2 and -2. And so for me, I think the angle is more toward the under in this game.
Sweet. Looking forward to that game for sure. Should be great. We'll take a couple more questions before I let you guys get down to the sports book.
I'm sure people are having trouble, Matt, figuring out whether you root for Minnesota or Houston based on your accent.
We'll keep.
You sound like a real Texan, don't you?
Born and raised in Houston. Yeah, no. But
yeah.
And anyways, I don't like cheeseheads. If that gives a hint. But we'll go to another question here. Any analysis on Bills Mafia? Seems like they've got a lot of points to cover.
Smooth Andy, thoughts?
Well, I am going to be on Jacksonville this week. It is a lot of points. It's just the desperation of Jacksonville. I don't think they're – I think if you look at the 0-2 teams this week, there are some where you're like, okay, they've been terrible. Carolina's been terrible. Tennessee's been frisky, but they got that quarterback who just throws things to the wrong people. And then the Rams have been kind of – they got blown out last week. There's some teams where you're like, this one feels weird. Now, it feels hard to bet against Buffalo, but I've got Jacksonville today. That's going to show up on my Twitter picks. But I think Jacksonville's a frisky 0-2 team and a desperate 0-2 team, not a team that came into this season and thought, well, we're probably not going to make the playoffs. They're still playoff hopefuls. It's not an easy thing to pick them on the road at Buffalo, but thankfully it's not January, first of all, so they're not going up there to freeze. But that said, Buffalo's obviously looked very good. I'm a contrarian bettor. I like taking a team when they're at their lowest against a team when they're at their highest, and that's what I think is happening here, and I'm going to be on Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's not on my card, but I like your reasoning. I would probably lean the exact same way just for the reasons you say. Just because, again, it's week 2. Teams are never as good as you think they are, never as bad as you think they are. And everybody in the NFL has 5-star talent. And they can rise up depending on that. Emotion plays a big part of that. That's why the 0-2 teams are big this weekend, just because of the emotion of the game. If I played money on that one, I'd play toward Jacksonville. So we'll see. But good luck, whatever you do.
Yeah, thanks for the question there. We'll take one more here. Buccaneers versus Broncos. That's been coming up a lot in the chat. Any thoughts on that?
Smooth, what do you think?
Well, that's another one of mine. I am on Denver, and this is another one that's really hard to do because Denver's looked so bad, and Patrick Nix has looked so bad. And as a Chiefs fan, it breaks my heart to watch them struggle as they have. But Tampa's played amazingly well. This is very similar to Jacksonville against Buffalo. You've got Tampa, who's 2-0 against an 0-2 team. Tampa's at home, and their opponent has looked inept and incompetent, and they've looked fantastic so far, just like Buffalo. So, this is almost the same exact handicap for me. Looking at Denver at potentially their lowest point, I would have loved to have had Denver at home just for the elevation. Home advantage, but this one's a hard one to bet, but I'm going to take it because I think Denver's going to bring something to Tampa. Tampa might not be 100% prepared or be playing a little vanilla because they think they can sleepwalk through this, and we'll see. It's a tough one to bet, but I'm going to be on Denver.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right side, just because I feel like Tampa Bay's a little overvalued. Couldn't have started hotter. Baker Mayfield's being discussed, listed as a very early list in MVP candidates. Yet they got beat up and down the field by Detroit last week. They just happened to come on top. So, probably a little bit regression on this, but I'm just not sure that I trust, Bo Nix or that Denver roster just yet. But if I had to do anything, I'd lean toward Smooth Andy's side. But it's off my card today.
Well, thanks for the question there, Uncle Phil. Smooth Andy, any last words before we wrap up and you guys get down to the book?
Yeah, Smooth. What do you think?
I think we're going to know early whether we're feeling good about all our dogs this week. But I do have a few favorites as well, but I'm mostly on dogs this week. It's going to be a long card for me. Like I said before, it might be a 2-page tweet. I forget how many characters I'm going to be able to fit into this thing. But anyway, look for a lot. If you don't like something, don't bet it. If you do like it, feel free to ride along. Yeah, some of these are going to look pretty hard to put money on. So, but that's usually the way it is for me anyway.
Yeah. Good advice.
How about you, Uncle Phil?
Sorry, Smooth. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I just said, what do you think? What
Yeah,
are your
no.
thoughts?
I'm the same way. I mean, look, we made money yesterday. Let's not burn it today. Let's treat this as an investment than straight up gambling. Let's invest in the teams. Let's make smart decisions today. I think we've done that. I know there's some NFL and some college cards that I just, kind of struggle going through. It's like I'm, trying to read physics again. And then there are some cards that just kind of pop off the page. This card to me looks really good. I don't think I'm being overconfident on it. I really like what I see today. Let's go make some money today. Let's have a day. As always, guys, let's roll.